Welcome to FilmIn5D, the show about all aspects film and the 5D Mark II. I'm your host, Aaron Hammock, and this week we talk about aspect ratios. So today I decided that we would talk about aspect ratios, or as I used to refer to them as, black bars. Now most of you probably noticed these for the first time when DVD players came out, which is when widescreen first became popular for home entertainment. In fact, before DVD players and widescreen televisions, most movies had to reformat their aspect ratios to a 4:3 TV, which they did by zooming in on the image, essentially cutting off and hiding parts of the frame to the right and left. But today, pretty much all movies are displayed in their correct aspect ratios. And with the growth of HD widescreen TVs, most new Blu-ray discs don't even offer full screen conversions anymore. But let's talk about some of the popular aspect ratios to give you a better understanding of their purpose and how you might want to use them to your advantage for your projects. Alright, so we've already covered two of the most popular aspect ratios, 4:3, which is common amongst older TVs, and 16:9, which is standard for HD TVs. Now, I mentioned 4:3 only because if you're working on a commercial for a client or doing one of those Doritos commercial challenges, they recommend that you frame your subjects with a 4:3 aspect ratio, so that those watching on older TVs don't miss out on anything.
Hey, you did one of those, right?
Yeah, I did. We didn't win.
Was it fun?
It was alright. That one with the dog in the Super Bowl, that's pretty funny. I thought that was like the best commercial. Yeah. And like, it's funny that it was independently made, I'm assuming. It was like the best commercial. A 16:9 aspect ratio gives you a full screen picture on your home HD TVs, so you might want to use that aspect ratio if you're doing home movies or something like that. But if you're making films, you might want to consider using one of the following aspect ratios. 2.35 is by far my favorite, and before 1970, it was actually the standard aspect ratio for Hollywood films. However, today, most filmmakers actually use 2.39 for their anamorphic aspect ratio. Another popular aspect ratio is 1.85, which is just a bit wider than 1.77 or 16:9 aspect ratio. I don't use this aspect ratio too much, but many films are shot with this to save money, though we did use it for the Godfather sketch and the Saving Private Ryan skit. In fact, aspect ratios first came about because of the different sizes of film, and ones like 1.85 were actually used to save money on film stock. But today, we can pick and choose our aspect ratios thanks to the power of digital cameras. In fact, you should be shooting everything in 16:9, so that in post you can determine your aspect ratio by adding black bars. But of course, I'd recommend predetermining your aspect ratio before you shoot a project so that you can frame properly. Next, I'll talk about using aspect ratios to your advantage. But first, a public service announcement. Yeah, I've been waiting out here since 9 o'clock, freezing my ass off. Where are you? What do you mean you can't make it? Do you have any idea how important this was? Don't you think I know that? That's why I scheduled to meet you after dark. What? Who? Wait a second. I think it's him right here. Hey, how's it going? I was actually expecting to meet with...
Let's get down to business. We don't have much time.
So whatever I tell you, you're just going to relay that to...
That's right.
I'm actually kind of confused. You know, he told me that you were a...
Let's keep the chit-chat to a minimum. What'd you need to tell him that you couldn't say over the phone?
Well, I have a bit of a problem.
Nothing that can't be handled, I'm sure.
No, but I'm sure you know how things can get out of hand in a hurry.
Are you referring to that investigator?
Yes, and he has Colton trained against me, which, quite frankly, I can't have at this point.
He's nothing but a con man. I looked him up.
No, I know, but he has Colton believing everything he says.
Isn't that what you want?
Well, yes, but not yet. If we give him enough information right now, he's gonna find out the truth.
That could be a problem.
Well, that's why I wanted to meet with... Oh, right, sorry. I'm still kind of new to this.
So what'd you want to do then?
Well, I figured we could set up the con man, with some falsified information. You know, to throw him off the scent a little bit, so we could figure out what to do.
We gave him the security footage a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I overheard them talking about it. Did you give them everything?
No. Only what we agreed upon.
Good, so maybe we could just give Colton the other portion? You know, to create a little bit of mistrust between them?
Not yet. But we can.
Right. I could do that. I mean, if he agrees.
Oh, he does.
Can I ask you something?
What's that?
Do you think everything will, turn out okay?
It always does. For us.
Okay, so the main reason I use aspect ratios like 2.35 is that not only does it help give your project a filmic look, but also gives a more appealing frame, at least for me anyway. Also, you can adjust your frame's top and bottom when using wider aspect ratios, which can help hide errors or better the framing of subjects. At the end of the day, you should just use the aspect ratio of your liking, or you can even make up your own using a program like Photoshop.
How daring.
Yeah, I guess. Make 2.38 or something. Be super special. I don't know, go Wikipedia, see which one hasn't been used yet. You can do your own. Now I know that programs like Final Cut and Magic Bullet Frames have aspect ratio presets built into them, but if you use another editor like Premiere Pro, you can also crop your frame's top and bottom to get the aspect ratio you desire. Also, if you want a frame for your aspect ratio, you can either use an external monitor, most of which have presets that can outline your frame, or a program like Magic Lantern, which we covered in this episode. But that's it for this week. As always, you can send your questions to me via @mentions on twitter.com/AaronHammock. You can follow the show's Twitter @FilmIn5D, or like our Facebook page at the link below, and we'll be back next week to talk about the GoPro Hero 2.
Isn't that thing that you have?
That thing that I have? That
Yeah.
thing that I got?
Yeah, the little camera.
Yeah, little sports camera. Can be used for film too. We already used it in one of the skits actually. The security cam footage.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty nifty little tool. I mean, not just for sports, but so we're gonna talk about it. Plus, people have been asking me on Twitter about it, so figured I'd talk about it.
It's better than an iPhone.
Honestly, it is. I mean, it has like super slow motion. It's way more versatile. Image quality isn't as good though, I don't think. All right, see you next week. Can I ask you something?
What's that?
Do you think everything will turn out okay?
It always does. For us.
I felt like you looking at the camera.
Was that? I was trying to cast it.
Oh, really?
You probably did
Well,
look
my
at the
focus
camera.
is a little
It's
bit
like
off.
people do it and they don't even know.